You read sometimes an article, and the headline of that article has nothing to do with the article. I think we live in that time where we don't read the articles. We read the headlines.
Since your divorce, with everything that's happened, what's your perspective on co-parenting?
You really have to think of what is best for him.
Can you personally put everything that happened last year behind you and, be friends?
I mean, never say never.
What would you like to see happen in your life in the next 12 to 18 months?
I just want to be happy.
Yeah.
Are you happy now?
I'm happy that I have my son. One of my coaches in dancing said this one thing: whatever goes in your ear does not necessarily fly out that easily.
Remember, you have your own aura, and you either let people get to you, or you know what you are, you know what you believe in, you know your truth, and you just push it back out.
Do you really ever know your truth?
I think your truth changes. I think we change and develop and grow as people. No one knows what actually happened. They only see what they see on the tabloids.
They wrote about me like I'm a monster. I'm not a confrontational person.
So you're a dancer, you're not a fighter.
No, yeah. Yeah. I know where you're going with this. I get it.
Welcome to The Glamorous Grind, where law meets lifestyle. I'm Ilona Antonian.
And I'm Mila Aratunian. We are lawyers, friends, and your insiders to the world of legal intrigue.
Every week, we're diving into our most unforgettable cases and sharing how we balance drive and determination with a touch of glam.
So, whether you're a legal powerhouse chasing success or just here for the juicy stories, grab your favorite drink.
Because we're serving up wisdom, wit, and plenty of style.
It's law, it's life, it's the glamorous grind.
Welcome back to The Glamorous Grind, and thank you for joining us for part 2 of our interview with Artem Chigvintsev.
We had such a wonderful time sitting down with Artem and talking about his life, and we hope you enjoy this next part just as much as we did.
We left off talking about the big changes Artem faced last year. He got candid about how those changes affected his outlook on life and how he sees the future.
I want to ask you a little bit about your practice as a dancer. I'm very into sports. I mean, I love everything from weight training to yoga. But, the amount of discipline it takes to be a professional athlete has always been very interesting to me.
I started dancing when I was officially, I'd say, probably when I was 14. When I was living in Moscow, I remember I was in bed till probably about 1 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely woke up late. By 4 o'clock, you in dance studio. And from 4 o'clock till midnight, you just dance until you pass out, pretty much.
Sounds amazing. Where do I sign up?
It's not very... I think it's very productive because there is no distractions around it. I think while a lot of successful dancers come from Europe or Eastern Europe, or because there is really not a lot of distractions what you can do or what can...
No video games.
There is nothing else around in your spectrum that you would waste your time on, in a way. My parents did also help me a lot during that time. I remember my dad moved to Moscow and he lived, and we rented an apartment for a month and a half, and then it's I'm done, so you're here on your own, son. So in that time, I was living on my own, doing all the same things. And again, it's if you think about right now, if I think of my son, that my son just bugger off when he's 16 and he does everything by himself, I'll be probably a little concerned. I'd be like, whoa, okay. Not even in the same town. I'm talking 600 miles away.
There's no cell phones at the time.
And no
pagers.
No, absolutely. Yeah. It's not like you can just instantly contact someone and get to see them FaceTime. I mean, no, there was none of that things.
Did you choose yourself or your mom?
No, it was purely my parents. Actually, funny story how I got into dancing. My parents are the big believers that after school you have to find some kind of a hobby, because you can't just, go outside and play. So they decided to put me first, whatever was popular back in the day. Those 3 things I think people did back in the day when I was born, I was growing up. Play hockey, ballet, or gymnastics probably. And I remember the first time I was like, okay, you're going to go play hockey. Let's try that one out. And I went to a few practices and then the puck flew into my face and literally like didn't break it, but it was pretty bloody. And so my mom like, probably not for you.
They didn't give you masks?
No, not really, you know.
Okay. Welcome to Soviet Union.
You're just like, yeah, go play tough. She's like, okay, well, you're gonna go to ballet. And believe it or not, actually, they didn't take me.
Really?
No, because they kind of look at you as a structure of your body. They look at you like how tall you're going to be. They look at you in a certain like turnout positions and how flexible you are and all of that. And if you kind of don't really fit the criteria to the fullest, they just don't really want you to waste your time in a way. The next thing was ballroom dancing randomly.
I remember you told me a while ago that you ended up traveling to Europe first. And from Europe, you ended up coming to the United States.
So I did live in Germany for over 3 years and traveled Europe at the time as well. Again, all because of dancing.
Did you speak English when you came here?
No, I didn't.
Well, you speak great English now.
Thank you. I actually think I've learned better English when I was living in the UK.
You know what? I sense a UK accent. I studied abroad in Oxford, and I sense your accent.
It's actually weird watching videos when I did Strictly Come Dancing back in UK. I was like, whoa, who is that guy? Because that was like a full-on Brit accent, like British accent.
I like Brit accent. I think all women like Brit accents.
It's scary. I was like, whoa.
So let me ask you, since your divorce and with everything that's happened, what's your perspective on co-parenting? It's
definitely doable. And obviously, if both parties, put the best foot forward, accommodate the kid, in the end of the day, what's best for Mateo is best for me, right? It's tough sometimes because, like, you have to negotiate certain things. You have to be willing to, sacrifice certain things. But at the same time, like, if you take your own ego out of it, you really have to think of what is best for him, not necessarily what you think would be best for him. I think that's the fine line, because we all base decision, like right now speaking of myself personally, base decision like what do I think is best for him by purely thinking like how I would want it, right? But you have to kind of like take yourself out of that and think, what does actually he needs?
Can you personally put everything that happened last year behind you and be friends?
I mean, never say never, but there's definitely needed to be certain conversation and certain things, acknowledgement of certain things. Yeah, I believe everybody can end up being friends.
What do you think needs to be discussed?
This is just speaking from my experience. Hearing each other, I think, is the big one.
Empathy.
When I say hearing each other, is not just say like, oh, I hurt you. Truly hearing and trying to understand why that is that, and actually try to feel like, oh, that's okay. I think the hard part, because we live in such a different culture, everybody grown up different, everybody raised different, everybody have different values, and I think that separates us in a lot of ways. And we forgot to kind of, understand each other.
I mean, when you disagree with someone, it's hard to hear and acknowledge and process what they're saying and feel what they feel. I think somebody has to help you do that when it's about subjects that are divisive.
I based everything on the logic. And like, if there is no logic, it's very hard for me to understand.
But you seem like a very calm, easygoing guy.
How do you
deal with conflict when faced with conflict, like throughout life?
I think I'm not a confrontational person. So
you're a dancer, you're not a fighter.
No, yeah. Yeah. I know where you're going with this. I get it. Even like I was never even competitive. Like even as a dancer, like I loved what I do, and I kind of like I want to be best, yes. But like I'm not gonna like jump out of the window for it. Like if someone wants it more than me, like I'm not gonna be trying to prove otherwise.
What would you like to see happen in your life in the next 12 to 18 months?
I just want to be happy.
Yeah.
Are you
That's
happy
it.
now?
I'm happy that I have my son. I'm happy that my mom is here. I'm happy that I'd be able to see that relationship, you know. I'm happy that I'm still okay, you know. I'm happy about that. But am I happy overall and like looking forward? Like, no, because it's just a whole bunch of unknown, and unknown is not make you happy.
It sounds like you're still healing.
Oh no, I mean for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's no questions that like I'm still processing everything that's going on.
How did all of that public scrutiny affect your life? I know you said that your whole life changed, your job changed.
Everything changed. I think just even going to, like pick up Mateo from school, you get the looks, like when people didn't say hi when I pick up Mateo. Like people who I have conversations with, people who I talk to, people who I thought that, I don't know, that I've never will experience that, like not saying hi and just like give these dirty looks. And I'm like, okay, like that is bizarre.
And that's traumatic. That's traumatic for you.
One of my coaches in dancing said this one thing: whatever goes in your ear does not necessarily fly out that easily.
Yeah.
Whatever someone tells you something, we have an ability to like process, but to what way process is affecting you.
But remember, you have your own aura, and you either let people get to you, or you know what you are, you know what you believe in, you know your truth, and you just push it back out.
But do you really ever know your truth?
I think your truth changes. I think we change and develop and grow as people, and I call it different eras.
Yeah.
You have different eras of your life, and there are positives and negatives to each, and there are good days and bad days to each, and there are lessons to each, and you never know what's coming.
I mean, I've learned that firsthand. I think your truth is who you surround yourself with.
And who do you surround yourself with? Do you have close friends?
I do have one who I consider like my best friend. And obviously my mom, my son, like that's my surrounding, who actually helped me to go through.
I mean, strangers don't know what really happened. You know the truth. And when people that you know for a long time turn away from you because they made up their mind about what they choose to believe.
Yeah, I think people who knows me, they're still there.
Whenever there are these types of situations and they get settled out rather than go through the litigation process and have a judgment, a lot of the truths are behind the shadows and no one knows what actually happened. They only see what they see on the tabloids.
You read sometimes an article and the headline of that article has nothing to do with the article. I think we live in that time where we don't read the articles. We read the headlines. And I think biggest thing in my case, because I was arrested, then I'm immediately guilty.
What would you want the world to know?
Be patient. Don't jump to conclusions right away. If I would never been on Dancing with the Stars, and if that would happen to me, my name nobody would care for. In that case, there would never be a mugshot in the magazines. There would never be a news headline that I've been arrested. And it makes it easier to exist.
So there are burdens of being a celebrity.
I don't ever consider myself a celebrity. And to be fair, like I think this whole thing is completely blown out of proportion, period.
Being a public figure, let's say, I think carries with burdens, including what's being said on social media, what you have to monitor and have an extra job of what do you respond to, what do you let go and not address. If something is on the internet about you, you have to think, do I hire a publicist? Do I respond to this? Or do I let it go? Is this going to stain my future opportunities and prevent me from, making my dreams come true? And on that point, you said you're having a hard time figuring out what to do in the next 12 to 18 months or plan for yourself. And what I was going to say earlier, and share my experience from when I was like 30 years old a while ago. I went wine tasting here in Napa. And
what a coincidence.
I came into this shop and there was a book that I bought that's the best book ever that has changed my life. And I'm going to send you a copy, but I didn't write it. I'm just endorsing it because I think it will really help you and maybe anybody else who doesn't really think or know where to start. It's called Where Will You Be in 5 Years? It's a very short book with exercises that are fun. We human beings, we're wired a certain way. Right now, you're wired to having a mindset of
survival.
Yes.
At the moment.
And you have an identity that you're still kind of married to, who you will, the
and I think
family
that's,
unit.
And I think that's the biggest problem with, I find myself, is that I so identify myself with just specific thing that anything outside of that identity, it just becomes like, besides scary, I think it also becomes like not doable.
Everything
because
is doable.
I know what it took me to identify myself with that. Mm-hmm. It took me my whole life as a being a dancer. I identify myself as a dancer because that's all I did my whole life. Every single day of my life, I danced.
As an employment attorney.
Yeah.
So I take a lot of cases, the people who have been employed in a certain field and sometimes trauma happens and they can no longer work in that field after 18 years, 20 years.
I 100% been there.
It affects every aspect of your life. People become suicidal. They lose their purpose because they do. But I promise you, everyone can get past that, but it is a journey. Yeah. It is a journey.
And that's, I think, where I'm at.
And you have to accept that that is who you are and that will always be a part of you, but that is not all of you.
Yeah.
And your identity is more than what you do, more than what you're passionate about. And frankly, you can become passionate in other things.
He's talented. He is good at it. He loves it. I feel that you've lost some opportunities after the mugshot that didn't really represent what in fact happened.
I was hoping I'm going to get mugshot like, what's his name? Frank Sinatra, but that was not the case.
I need to see this mugshot.
I'm going to make it really, it's kind of funny, but I was like this close to put on my Instagram mugshot. And it's probably going to be very sarcastic to a lot of people, but I was like, God, this thing made me more famous and more talked about than winning Dancing with the Stars, being nominated for an Emmy. That's what made me more famous. That's what made people talk about It's just sad because people just want to see you fail and want to believe in things like bad things more than actually if you succeed at something. It's just so sad. They wrote about me like I'm a monster. And when the case was dismissed, they didn't run and say like, oh, we did this, but now it's this, so this is what it is. No, because no one cares about that the case was dropped.
But as to what happened, you've lost opportunities. People canceled contracts on you that you had pending and deleted you off their websites just because of that mugshot before anyone knew who's at fault.
I can be mad at that. Like if again, taking myself out of that equation, right? And if let's say I would be in that position, I would have probably done the same thing. Everything nowadays is about branding.
But look, there's divorce, the restraining order stuff, the arrest, it's all history. It's all done. All of that is gone, done. You are a talented, passionate dancer. I want to see you back on TV, on Dancing with the Stars. I would love to watch and we'll cheer for you.
I would love to watch you on TV too. I would love to watch you continuing to follow your passion. And it sounds like dancing is your number one passion.
What was your favorite genre of dancing?
I think my favorite always going to be what I do, ballroom and Latin, And again, when I talk about ballroom and Latin, just want to kind of explain, because some audience might have not really be aware of it. Latin genre has a Latin dances and the ballroom genre has a ballroom dancer. So there's a standard and there's a Latin. Standard is more like a foxtrot, tango, waltz, Venus waltz, quick step. And when you go into the Latin, that's where the oldest, sambas and cha-chas and all the other styles of dance.
What's the hardest genre of dancing that you faced while you were on the show?
I don't think it's hardest. I think it's the one that looks crazy on you. Because sometimes we believe like, oh, this is easy, and you do it and you look like a fool and you're like, oh, that definitely did not look good.
It's just so unfair that over this, everything will be over. Like,
It's not over. I'm
well,
manifesting that you're going to continue.
Always.
Well, ultimately, no matter what happens, we're fortunate to be in this country.
Yeah.
We're fortunate to have our, hands, eyes, vision, hearing, everything, right? You can move and shake it. You can do construction. It's a blessing. You can do anything you want.
And I think some people find a lot of people's interviews kind of like, oh, it's pathetic. Like, you have your health, you have this. It's again, it depends what you're comparing to. I mean,
It is.
I can compare myself to be in an extremely great situation right now. I live in the country, there's a peace, I have a job, I get paid, I see my son, my mom is here, I can go to grocery store, buy food.
See? You did it.
There's so many things to be grateful for. And of course, but in everyday life, when that has become a pure normal, you're taking it for granted.
That's true.
And then you only focus on things that are missing. And that's where you easily caught up is in the negativity, what's missing, what could have been better, or what can be better. And again, for me personally, it's not even so much like, I don't say I don't care about myself. I can figure it out how to be, whatever. I mean, I've been living on my own for a very long time. And like, I'm okay to survive. Like, I can survive. I'm okay. But my son's getting deprived of certain things, and he will never have that. And that was my struggle is.
You have the power to remember when the negative thoughts enter your head to intervene, stop it, and change the channel to something else.
I wish it worked that easy.
It requires practice and catching yourself.
I wish I was a bit more of a dreamer. I wish I'd be more of like, yay, it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. I wish I was that guy. I've never was. Even growing up as a kid, I've never was. And I'm more like just, this is what's in front of me. And like, okay, let's make the most of what's in front of me, It might suck, but at least I can manage this to the best possible ability what's here.
I think that's a great quality.
Yeah, so one step at a time.
Yeah.
Every day at a time.
Hopefully it'll open up something else.
A lot of times when people go through divorce, I think from what I've heard, a lot of people say that they lived in conflict or had situations where they had hostile environments at home. And, I don't know about your personal life and if that's something you went through, but does your life now feel more at peace than when you were married and or living in conflict?
I think when you live in a relationship, you kind of get used to certain things and you don't see things sometimes for what they are, or there are certain problems you don't necessarily see it as a problem. Like you just go along, right? That it just becomes a roller coaster of the same things, and you just, we're all humans.
I think all we can do is the best we can do.
Always.
And I think the choices we make at any given time is the best we can do based on the journeys we've lived and the experiences we've had. So I always feel like a lot of people say, oh, what could I have done differently? I don't think we could have done anything differently in those moments.
I don't think I would change anything that I've done. So it's not that.
No regrets.
No.
And you have the journey forward to look forward to and choices you can make now that will make an impact for your future.
Yeah, I think so.
I have no doubt that anything you want to tackle, you will tackle, and anything you love to do and are passionate about, you will be great at. And I personally can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I think you're an amazing father. All the pictures, everything I've heard and said, there was nothing but immense love, and nothing is more important to you other than being a great dad from day one. And you are that. And you've sacrificed, you make sacrifices every day. Go to work, do your construction, you get off, you pick him up, you cook for him, you do everything for him. I bet you don't have time for your personal life or yourself right now because you also have to
exist.
Yes.
And my mom's living with me, so. Boy, it's not over that. You know what? I don't know. I just made this agreement with myself that is like, my focus is my kid. Playing with him every single day and just have this like silly giggles that he does or whatever makes him happy. Like, that's what makes me happy. Like that's what actually like makes me go like, okay, this is a good day.
It's a blessing.
It's those simple things. I don't think I can think past of anything else, even remotely at this moment of my life where I'm at. Like my focus is my kid.
This is so natural to go through this because, when you love someone, it falls apart and it's not the way you ever envisioned this was going to end. It's going to take time to kind of deal with it and heal. And I think you're very fortunate to have your mom, to have your son, to have him half the time. And also, you have a couple of close friends. It's all that matters. When we grow up, we have our responsibilities, duties. There's no time to chat with
really
people.
No time.
And you have us now.
There is no time.
We're your friends forever.
That's it. You stuck with me forever. Yeah. Funny enough, but it's true.
And that's a wrap on our interview with Artyom and this episode of The Glamorous Grind.
It was so great to hear Artyom tell his story. I'm so glad him and his son are thriving.
Artyom is such a nice guy. He's a class act, and it was lovely to see him again.
If you liked what you heard today, we've got more interviews coming up that you'll love to dive into. Keep up with us on social media to see what we've got coming up next. And good news, we are inviting new guests on our show.
Do you have a jaw-dropping story the world needs to hear?
Divorce, life, law, or even an employment case that you went through.
DM or email us to share your story and be a guest on the show. Stay motivated, stay fabulous, and we'll see you next week on The Glamorous Grind.